It's Dan Kenner with another episode of The Casual Author. Today is Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, as I record this, and this is episode number 75 of the podcast. It's an amazing milestone. Can't believe we're already here. Today we're talking to Thomas L. Rose about his unexpected journey into authoring and his most recently released book, Balloon in a Box: Coping with Grief. Here we talk about how he unexpectedly fell into writing when he decided to tell his journey about grieving the loss of his wife. We talk a lot about grief. We talk a lot about processing that and about his experience, his enhanced life experience from becoming an author and creating a community based around the content of his book. So I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation. Tom is just a joy to talk to. I absolutely loved hearing his insight. He is a man with many years of experience, so definitely do not want to miss out on that conversation. So, in terms of news this week, I feel like everything happened so fast that I have so much I have to think about it to make sure that I grab it all. But first and foremost, our goats have started their labors and kidding. So our first goat had her kids last week, and it was kind of an unexpected experience. We've done this for a number of years now, and this is her first time having babies. Normally, when a goat has babies for the first time, they usually have one, occasionally two. She had three, which we were just not expecting. On top of that, she had the kids so quietly that we didn't hear it, which is generally fine when the goat has experience with birthing, like a first-time mother, a human mother. It's a new experience, and so they don't necessarily know what's going on. They may have done some research, but you have to kind of experience to know. Same with goats. So she had the babies, but she didn't know, her instincts didn't kick in. So unfortunately, one of the babies did pass away, which is very unfortunate. We were very sad. I didn't make it out there in time. I managed to clean off the other two, clear out their mouths so that they could start breathing. One of them was doing pretty fine. I believe he was the last one out because he was kind of up and walking around. The second one that we managed to get was tiny, very tiny. It's probably the tiniest goat kid I've ever seen. And she was just laying there. She wasn't moving. So we actually had to revive her. For the past 3 days, we have been bottle feeding her, exercising her limbs, kind of like physical therapy for goat. And she's actually up and about now. She's walking around. But it was a little bit of a long road. She just laid there for most days. We had her in a little laundry basket in our house. And I honestly wasn't sure if she was going to make it, but she did. She seems pretty happy outside. We put her back out with the goats. Unfortunately, when you separate them like that, mom doesn't know who she is anymore because the scent has changed. She was in her house. She's still drinking her mom's milk. We're milking her mom and then giving it to her in bottles. But the scent has changed enough that her mom she's not rejecting her per se. She's just not caring for her. So we're going to continue to bottle feed her, and hopefully she grows. She's still very, very tiny. If you want to see videos about that, I've been posting them on YouTube. I also have them on my TikTok channel. So take a look at those. I'll probably send out some images of her. My son decided to name her Diamond. So there you go. We now have a goat that we're bottle feeding named Diamond. In any case, that's exciting. Sad on the one that passed away, but we're glad that we were able to save the other two. And we have more goats set to have babies this week. So hopefully I'll have more stories of birthing and hopefully they're happier. This has been the first time we've ever lost a baby, actually. So like I said, we've done this for, I want to say 3 years, almost 4 years now. And this is the first time that we've ever lost a baby. So hopefully we continue to have a good track record and we don't have any problems with that. So that's on the homestead news. There you go. Additionally, we have been preparing for chickens. We started incubating eggs. So we've collected eggs for the past few days. Our incubator can hold 22. So we got it all set up, put the eggs in there, and they're incubating. So I believe it takes 3 weeks for those to hatch. Never done this before. Should be interesting. We intentionally bought breeds of chickens that are kind of dual purpose, right? So you've got egg layers, which have a pretty high production of eggs, and then you have meat chickens, which get really, really fat and juicy. Those of you listening, you might not love that. It's just the reality of the situation. So we got a hybrid breed, which they do get kind of big, not as big as meat chickens, but they do get big, but they also have a decently high egg production. Now you can't get the best of both worlds. It's kind of either one or the other. So these are middle grade chickens. And we've seen it. Their egg production has not been as high as some of the past layers we've had with, the kind of slimmer, skinnier chickens. But that's okay. We're trying to hatch our own eggs so that we can learn the process and eventually grow our own meat and egg layer chickens, kind of take care of both. Historically, we've been purchasing chickens from the mail. They ship to the post office. It's kind of hilarious to get a box of chicks. And we're doing that again this year because we don't know how the incubator is going to go, how successful it will be. We have 2 roosters, and they're fine. They're active. So we just need to make sure that the eggs will actually hatch. So that's another fun thing that's a little bit new. And the weather has jumped up in temperature, which we're absolutely loving. So we're building outside again. We're building chicken tractors, which is essentially like a little portable chicken coop and run. That's what we've been working on this week. Kind of fun. The point of it is so you can get your chickens out in the garden area or just out in your pasture or wherever, and they will peck it down. They will clear an area. You just put this little structure on. The ground is open. They'll just peck at everything. Put a little fence up, and we can also let them out to graze or whatever it is, scour the ground, and it's really good for the garden and for the homestead. So that's fun. We're building 2 of those, and that's kind of what we've been working on this week. Now, in terms of author news, things are still relatively stable. I'm just shy of 75,000 words on Dragon Blooded, so I do believe that I'll be able to finish that around 90,000 words. I feel relatively confident that I'm going to be with probably 2 or 3,000 variant, possibly higher than 90,000, but pretty close. It's better. The last book I tried to hit 60,000 ended up being 95,000. So I'm pretty proud of myself for hitting this target. And then the second Cyber City Kids book is still kind of at the same place it was last week. We haven't made a lot of progress on that. My co-author has had some things going on, and it's no problem at all. I told her I have plenty of things to write, so do not even worry about me. So that there's that on that front. Social media is still I'm still figuring that out. My YouTube is still a tad bit spotty, but I would love to figure that out, make it more consistent. I am being more consistent with my email list, and I have started partnering with authors with sending out free book deals every week. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to find other amazing books by other authors, definitely subscribe to my email list, and you'll see those different free book deals come through each week, which is pretty awesome. Additionally, I'm trying not to laugh at myself for this one. I have kind of started another project. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on describing what this project is because I'm not sold that I'm going to be able to make it work. But in light of the recent kitten video going crazy, I decided to dabble, test my hand at something else. So the video ended up stopping finally at about 13.4 million views, which is still wild, but it is very apparent that Emma the Dilemma Cat is very popular. So I'm just going to see this new project. We'll see if it goes anywhere, just dabbling in it, but I'm enjoying the process and, finding out how to format things and whatnot to see if it's even possible. So I'll talk a little bit more about that if I end up deciding to do it. I haven't decided to quite yet. I've also had an overwhelming number of people asking for the audiobook for the Lightbearer Chronicles. I have yet to figure that out. I'm still hoping that I'm getting closer to figuring out how to produce that, whether by myself or hiring someone. So just those of you listening that have not had the chance to read my books because you want them in audio, know that I will get it done. I just have not had the chance. It's one of those things that's very unfortunate that I haven't done it. But as a new indie author, it's not one of the things you're thinking about. And because funds are getting put in other places such as editing and cover design, it's kind of the fallout is the audiobook. And I know it's not just me, but it will be coming at some point. Hopefully I'll have more news on that soon, but don't hold your breath. I'll say things happen and things don't. In any case, I believe that is all the updates for this week. So we'll go ahead and shift over to the interview portion of the podcast. Hey, Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself? How
So
about
great.
yourself on Idaho? Okay.
I'm loving it here. We talked, for those of you listening, we talked briefly about, Tom and where he's from. You're in Indiana, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So I'd love to talk a little bit about your author career, kind of where that started, what got you writing, and how did you end up where you are today?
Well, that's a big question.
This is a very big question. Take your time.
You got about 2.5 hours. My wife and I, were on television for about 13 years. We just did a little cooking segment on a local morning show. Every Wednesday. We did it for 13 years, never missed an episode. And we ended up writing a couple cookbooks. So that's kind of where it started. Now, jump forward. In 2004, 2005. Well, 2004 was the last time we did TV thing. That's when we found out she had breast cancer. And she went through treatment 2004 in a mastectomy, and again in 2005 in a mastectomy. And then until 2017, she was good. 2017, he came back in the chest wall. Doctors told us she had 4 to 6 months. She lived about 2 years. I lost her in August of 2019. And after that, my son and my granddaughter said, "Hey, Grandpa, let's finish that cookbook." My wife and I were working on the third cookbook, and they said, "Let's finish it." So we did. It's called, the first 2 cookbooks were Cooking Together, Oriental style. Second one was Cooking Together, Quick and Easy. And this one we titled Cooking Together Revisited. And the proceeds from that go to a little breast cancer project we have. We buy hats and scarves and stuff and give it to the ladies that are going through chemo, that losing their hair. So, because I know how much my wife appreciated having those things. So that was our first little project. About 6, 7 months after my wife died, a friend of mine from Florida, a doctor, retired, called me in, wanted to know how I was getting along and everything. And he said, Tom, he said, if you write a journal, somebody told me that would help you. So I said, I can do, my son and I are in advertising and marketing consulting business, so I'm on the computer all the time. So I thought I'll just open up a Word file. When I got up in the morning, I typed in how I felt. When I went to bed at night, I typed in what happened. About 3 or 4 months after I started that, he called me again, one no. And he said, "Send me your notes." He said, "I'd be interested in reading them." I said, "Well, Doc, remember, they're not even sentences, words spelled right, whatever. I just typed it." He said, "Send it to me." So I did. About 3 weeks later, he called me back and he said, "I've shown this to several people." He said, "You have to write a book." I said, "Doc, you were with me in college. I didn't pay attention in English class. I can't write a book." He said, "Yes, you can." So it was COVID years. I mean, it's crummy here in the wintertime. So I decided, what the heck, I'll just start writing just for the heck of it. And so I would write a page at night or a couple of pages, and then I figured an author has to use big words, right? So I would go to the thesaurus and I would find big words and replace them. And then I get up the next morning and look at it and go, "What the heck does that mean?" Finally, after about a month of doing that, I finally sat down one night and I had my glass of wine sitting here on my desk after dinner. It was about 8 o'clock. And I thought, okay, I'm going to type this the way I feel, the way I talk, the way I say things. So I did. I started in and I did. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about spelling. Just type. And I started at 8 o'clock and before I knew it, it was 3:30 in the morning and I had pages of stuff.
Wow.
So from that, I kind of organized the book. I thought, well, I started reading. I thought, some of this was pretty good. I decided if I was going to do it, though, I had to be honest. I'd be honest about my feelings, not hide them. Tell people I was going through grief. It's a grief journey. That's what my book's about. It's called Balloon in a Box, Coping with Grief. All the things that I read on the internet, I would read them and I'd go, golly, this guy doesn't really understand. Okay, I don't care. He's got a PhD psychiatry and all these things, letters after his name, but he hadn't been there, or he wouldn't say that, or he would understand. Everybody wanted to say, "Oh, you're going to go through kind of like AA. You're going to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4." Well, that's not the way it happens. Grief is different for everybody. So, honestly, that's part of what I did with my book. I said, no, I got to be really honest here. I'm not a counselor, not a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I just wrote what my journey I was going through. So that's how the book happened. I thought, well, I'll print a couple other copies and I'll, give a few away and sell a few, and that's it. Man, I caught lightning in a bottle. A few books got out. All of a sudden, I'm getting calls from radio stations do interview, TV stations do interview, places want me to come speak, churches and clubs and even the prisons. And I just did my 45th speech this morning.
Wow.
I've done 8 people to 200 people. So and I've never, well, I did some acting and stuff when I was in school, and I've given a few speeches for business, but never like I'm doing, never standing on a stage in front of people and bearing my soul, so to speak, because I'm very honest about what happened to me in my grief journey. The first 3 months after she died was terrible. The world was black and white. Um, I was totally lost. I didn't know what I was doing. Um, I was angry a lot. I kicked God out of my life. I said, "Get out of here! You didn't, you didn't do what I asked you." And so I honestly wrote about that. I wrote about that in my book, that experience. And what I found out is everybody goes through similar situations. Everybody's different, but everybody's the same. Um, I talked to a lady the other day, and she came up after one of my talks, and she put her arm around me and she said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And I said, "Well, you're welcome. What I do, And she said, "I've been in my gray period." I said, "Well, how long?" She said, 15 years. I said, "Oh my God." She said, "Serious?" She said, "But," she said, "I understand listening to you." She said, "I think my world's going to be brighter tomorrow." So, you know, what happened to me was, I call it my epiphany. Okay.
Sure.
Now you're going to get a picture here. I already mentioned it once. My glass of wine sitting on the desk. So you're going to. I'm not a wino, but I'm going to sound like it to you. Okay. Uh, my wife and I, if you could see my house here, it's a very open concept. Um, the kitchen we had a counter of a bar top with bar type stools around it. So it's got the living rooms behind you on one side, the dining area on the other. And since we both cooked, we would share or we would take turns. So if it was my turn to cook, she would be sitting on the one side with a glass of wine. I'd be on the other cooking with my glass of wine. And at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening was our time. That's when we shared our day. And so anyway, so it's like I say, about 3 months after she died. It's a crummy day. It was a cold November, raining, snowing, sleeting. And I'm sitting there, I had my glass of wine while I was cooking dinner, and had my glass of wine with dinner, and had my glass of wine after dinner, and looked at the bottle, and there's about an inch and a half there. And what the heck, I poured that and I drank it. Now I've got Frank Sinatra on the stereo. Okay. And I'm really feeling sorry for myself. I am really, really down. And I remember, I think I was getting up to go change the record or something. And I got up and I caught my foot on the stool beside it and I fell. Now I had a little too much wine, but I mean, what that wasn't, I mean, combination of two, that's right. So I'm laying there on the floor. Proportionally, I fell towards the living room on the carpet. I'm laying there and thinking how stupid I was. What the heck are you doing? My wife's favorite saying was, "It is what it is. Put on your big boy pants and deal with it." So I'm laying there and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what she would tell me right now. So I remember getting up and going to a chair. I don't think in that first 3 months I'd really cried, but all of a sudden the tears came, man, and I were pouring and I was wringing wet. And I remember going to bed and thinking, oh man, tomorrow morning is going to be terrible. But I got up the next morning and there was color. And I knew what I was going to do. I was going to take grief on. I had to. You know, you can't hide it. You can't keep it inside. You got to let it come out. There's a quotation that somebody said that the griever needs 3 things. They need to find the words, to say the words, and know the words been heard. So I'm there. I remember the morning standing there saying, okay, I got to take grief on now. How do I do it? Well, someone had told me a long time ago that grief was like a ball in a box, bounces around in the box, and when it touches the side, a memory comes back or a feeling. What you didn't want to happen is you didn't want the ball to hit the corner and have 3 things going on at once. Hard to handle. And I thought, no, 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 no. Grief is more like a balloon in a box, because you got a balloon on a string, and you move to the left, and the balloon may go right. The balloon doesn't always go where you take the string. So that's kind of my little crutch. string is on my finger. All my memories are in that balloon, so it goes with me. So I learned right then that day and the next few days as I thought about it and as I did things, I thought, I think one of the biggest fears when somebody loses, especially a spouse or a child or a real close loved one, you're afraid to move forward because you don't want to leave them behind. Well, once you learn that you can take them with you, and that's what I'm doing. She's right there in that balloon. All our memories are in that balloon, and a lot of other memories too. But I can move forward, and those can go with me. So once I got that, then it was easier for me to handle my grief. I knew she was with me. I knew that I wasn't going to lose her. Wasn't going to lose all those memories we had. So that started the whole thing with the balloon in the box. And then I talked to people. I got stories um, about their grief and their grief journey. The thing that I try to tell people is that grief is love. Without love, there is no grief.
Sure.
You don't grieve for somebody you didn't love. So grief's such an ugly word. I try to say, hey, grief is love. So let's talk about it as love. Let's talk about your journey of grief as a journey of love. You're going along and you're remembering all those things, okay? You're remembering all the happy thoughts. I'm kind of on a grief committee at the church, and when we get a new person, they're always a little quiet, especially if they've lost a spouse. And I will always ask them to say, tell me about your first date.
Mm.
And you just smiled because you think about that.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, right. And so that's what I do to people. And those are the kind of things that I tell people. That's what you want to remember. You want to remember those things. Take those along. So that started it. And golly, like I say, all of a sudden I'm here. I'm talking to 8 people, 200 people about grief, and I never thought I'd be like this. The other thing that was so important in my life, and I'm 82 years old. When she died, I was 78. Fortunately, in good health. That she was in hospice for 3 weeks, not at home, at the hospital. I was there 24/7. Well, basically, my kids would come and my granddaughter, and they'd spell me, and I'd come home, shower, check the mail, eat something, go back. But I was there 24 hours a day. Now, when you spend 21 days and you can't read and you can't watch TV, all you do is think. Now, you think about thinking like that. You think about sitting around and doing nothing but thinking all day, 15 hours, 16, whatever. You begin to learn things about yourself, about life, about everything. You start to hear things around you that you probably never heard before. So your life will change. I'm telling you, young man, your life will change. And my life changed. I'm not the same person I was. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm the same person I was. I am a better person today than I was 4 years ago because of that experience. I wasn't a bad person before, but I'm much better now. I was willing to help people. If you said I need your help, I'd help you. But I could walk by you and not see that you needed help. Now I see people's feelings. I feel what they feel. And that's a good thing to happen to you. So that's the lesson I learned in those 3 weeks. Yeah. She's laying in bed. I'm holding her. I can feel her pain. And I'm going, God, please, take her. Well, Bishop Sheen said, a quote that he said, sometimes God has to break someone's heart to get into it. Oh, he broke my heart in a million pieces. Okay. But he got into it. I was a religious person before. I mean, I was born Catholic, raised Catholic, went to 8 years of parochial school. I was okay. I was an okay Catholic. I did the things. I'm much better now, and I'm not running around saying preach this and preach that and all that. No, I'm not that way. Everybody has to find their own spot. I've found mine, so I'm comfortable where I am. I'm comfortable with with my religious beliefs. I'm comfortable with my journey. I've got to go on it. I can't, nobody can fix it. Nobody can change it. And it's not going to end. I've got to go on it. So I've accepted that and I'm on it. Um, so the whole experience has changed me. I would have never gotten up in front of 200 people and told them my story about falling on the floor. I wouldn't have done that. I'd have hid that some way,
Hmm.
Uh, but all those things have changed for me now. So that's where I am. Uh,
I think that's incredible. That's an amazing story. And you did it in less than 2 hours. So good work.
well,
That's
maybe I'm
impressive.
not done. Maybe I'm not done.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot more to say.
uh,
I will
go ahead.
say this though. I mean, there's something to be said about a real experience, and I think there's a lot of authors out there, regardless of what they're writing, that forget that readers from all situations, I mean, particular in this case about grief, but readers in general, they like to know that the stories that they're reading come from a real person and they come from real experiences, even if it's fiction, right? Learning
Right.
more about the author, it opens up doors that you just don't get necessarily when you're reading like research articles or,
Correct.
like you mentioned, those PhD books, people who have step by step situations for overcoming grief or maybe being successful at X business or
Right.
whatever. It just feels cold. It feels empty. When talking to you, I mean, you breathe life into the reality of the situation. You express it from a very real and raw perspective. And people can see and hear from you that you know what you're talking about, right? I mean, it's your true experiences, which I think is amazing.
Well, a couple of things happen when someone dies, uh, and you go to the funeral home for the visitation. Now, if you're
Hmm.
like me, you stand there in line, right? And you go, "What the heck am I going to say when I get up there?"
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, uh, oh, he was a nice guy when maybe he really wasn't. Uh, but you have to say something. We had 450 some people that come through. Um, and the things they said afterwards, when I got ready to write the book, okay, all these things came back to me. People came up and said, "Oh, I understand." And I wanted to hit him and say, "No, you don't understand." You know, I thought I did before it happened to me, but I can tell you, I don't understand. I, I cannot. I understand losing a spouse. I cannot in any way comprehend losing a child.
Hmm.
It's beyond me. Okay, so those were the kind of things that like I say, going to the people saying things. People said, well, God needed her up there more than you needed her down here. No, I'm sorry. God's got a whole bunch of people. I just wanted one.
He's got an army
Yeah,
already.
he's got them all. I just wanted one. Oh, you had her for 59 years. No, I wanted her for 69 years.
Hmm.
Um, so I always tell people, just go up and say, I love you.
Hmm.
That's the best thing you can say. You don't even have to say anything. Just give them a hug. Then they know that you're there for them. You don't have to
Hmm.
tell them once you do that. So that's the kind of things that, I experienced through this whole thing that I learned. But when you said fiction, so I write this book, Balloon in a Box. Now I think I'm an author. Now I did not pay attention in English class in college or high school. So, I always tell everybody the biggest word in my book is Catholic because I spent 8 years of parochial school and I did learn to spell Catholic in 8 years. So anyway, I get this book and everybody's telling me it's good and all that kind of stuff. Then I decide to try fiction. So I did write a book. It was just released Monday, and
That's
it's
awesome.
and what you were saying though uh, is true. Uh, After it was, I had not read the book probably in total until it came out. I
Uh-huh.
read chapters and proof chapters and that kind of stuff. Sat down and read my own book, and I'm going, my God, you put stuff in there about you
Mm,
that you wouldn't realize is in there.
yep.
Okay. I mean, what I put in that book in the characters is true. It's not fiction. Those characters are all people that I know or me or things that I think, things that I felt. Uh, so that's kind of fun too. The book's called The Secret is in the Pasta. And it's called that because it's a murder that takes place in an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
And and I kind of set it up so I can write another one. The detective in there he's got a whole bunch of them he can do if I want to do them if it's successful. I mean, I probably will write one again anyhow, just for the heck of it. But uh, so that's where I'm in my life, and I'm thinking of other books that I want to write. I want to write a book about love
Oh, cool.
because when I was doing the research for Balloon in a Box, and I said grief is love, love is grief, then you know I had to do a lot of thinking about love. So
Well,
that's
I think it's interesting that you said that you think you're a writer now that you wrote a book. So I mean, it's just funny to me because
yeah.
I didn't write a book on grief, but my journey into writing looked very similar to yours. It was kind of the situation of talking to someone about, not even about writing a book necessarily, but they were like, I mean, have you ever tried writing something? I'm like, no, not really. And they're like, well, just try it. And
Yeah,
I haven't been able to stop. I
yeah,
wrote my first sentence, my first chapter, and it's been 5 years now, and I am just writing. It's just part of my life now. Even if it's not quote unquote successful, it's cathartic. It's a way to express yourself in story form. It's a really engaging and fun experience, not only for myself, but for readers. But I think it's amazing. They were like, I mean, why not? Let's just write this murder mystery in this Italian restaurant because you can, and you did.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
great.
Well, what's your book? Tell me about your book. What's it about?
So I've actually written 5 books. So I've
Okay,
published fantasy, so an epic fantasy series.
okay.
And then I have a standalone sci-fi dystopian type
Oh,
book.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So
that's
yeah,
great.
it's all very, I call it nerdy stuff. I totally accept
Okay,
the nerdy stuff.
okay.
Lord of the Rings type book
Oh, okay,
situation
okay. That's
is
great.
what I write.
That's great.
But yeah, I love reading murder mysteries. I don't think that my mind could properly put in place a, murder detective situation. Then again, I've never tried.
Yeah, you
So,
could, you could, you
I
could.
mean,
If you could create
someday.
what you're creating, you could create that. Yeah, you could create that.
Yeah, I think
I didn't think I could either. But the last thing I ever wrote when I was in college, I was in theater and stuff like that. I did write a play one time, so that's the closest
okay.
thing I can. That's the closest thing I came to being creative about something, So
I mean, but I'm like you. I Part of the thing that was stopping me from writing in my whole life was that I
you
wasn't
cut,
great in English.
yeah,
Like I didn't pay too much. My English language, my command of the English language isn't great, particularly in writing. So I didn't feel like I was eloquent enough to write. And
yeah,
anyway, you do it, and then it's there.
yeah.
So,
Well, I know I got my first review back from a critic that the publisher sent it to, and it was very nice. And that's one of the things they said. They said, you were honest and we know your characters are honest characters, or you made them feel real, because you gave them. Tony's not Tony is the detective in this. His name's Tony Victor, uh,
cool.
but the guy said you made him fallible. You made him have weaknesses, and so he's a real person. He's not Superman, he has his own problems. He's not perfect. So that was the thing I did. I know, and again, because I'm not perfect, and nobody I know is perfect.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
it's surprising when you realize that how much it can have an effect on your life. I mean, coming back kind of to your grief story about the, falling over and kind of having this realization about the non-perfection, so this has got to happen, right? I mean, it's the realities of life, the realities of imperfection. And once you kind of accept that, it's like, all right, I mean, what am I scared of, right?
it's
Like
exactly right.
yeah, it's just like you block yourself. You are your own critic. You are the one blocking yourself so many times when you think it might be something else. You might be thinking it's some external source, but in reality, it's kind of all in here.
Yeah. Are you gonna
So,
sit here and pity yourself and wallow
mhm.
around in this for the rest of your life and be miserable? You
Yeah,
know, you can't do that. You can't do that. So
no,
that's where
it's
that moved.
not
See
living at least. Yeah.
the things that happen. I tell the story. That was Thanksgiving Eve that first year, and my family, just my son and granddaughter and her husband and daughter-in-law. They were going to come to they have the bigger place. They were going to come here. They said, "Dad, you just make the turkey. We'll bring everything else." So again, I'm there with my little glass of wine up on the counter, and I got that bird, and I'm stuffing the bird with the fruit and everything, and the herbs and everything. I put it. I get ready to tie the legs, pull the string. I need a finger so I can tie that knot tight. And I started laughing and crying because that was a Thanksgiving joke for years. She would put her finger there,
Mm.
and she would say to me, "Who helped you tie your Eagle Scout knots?" And we'd both laugh. Now, my wife was a brunette, brown eyes. And I think one time I said, "Oh, it was a cute little blonde. I think I got a dish right side of the head or something like that." We had that kind of relationship. We zinged each other all the time. And quite honestly, this is what the last thing my wife said to me, holding my hand. She said, "I love you, comma, I'll see you in church." She had to zing me one more time. She got the last one in, and I'm mad at her. I'm mad at her for that. I'm mad at her because I have not been I can't come back at her. Uh but and a lady came up to me a couple months ago, and I do that in my speaking. I tell that story, and I smile and I laugh. And this lady came up to me. She said, "Mr. Rose," she said, "I just can't believe you can take that tender, loving thing your wife said to you and make a joke out of it." I said, "Ma'am, understand. No, I'm not making, yes, I guess I am. But she did it." She said, "That was our life."
Mhm.
I can't be sad about what she said. I have to laugh at what she said. "Oh, okay. I think I understand." I said, "Yeah, please do." I said, "I'm not being insensitive about it." Eh, You know, uh, I said, my wife would zing me again if I did somehow, you know. Uh, so it's just a whole new life now. I played a lot of golf. I would play golf every day if I could back then. Now I play golf, but I don't have to play golf. You know, I don't watch TV that much anymore. I
You're
don't.
not missing much.
No, I know. I mean, there's so much. Uh, I listen to music a lot. I write. I take walks. Sometimes I just sit and listen to music, and just let everything drain out. Um, that's my life now.
But
Uh,
it sounds great.
yeah. You married?
I am. I have 6 kids.
Oh,
So,
6 kids.
yes,
Oh my God.
we
Okay.
actually just had our 10-year anniversary last week.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
we're
So
still young.
yeah, well,
We've
the
got years.
you understand love all over the top because 10 kids is love. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we
Or
don't
6 kids is love.
six kids. Yeah, so we're not 10 yet.
Working on 10. Okay. Uh, but that's real love. I always tell everybody, I remember our first date, and then I want to say it was love at first sight, but that's something I can discuss in my book on love if that really happened. But I remember thinking when we decided to get married, we're married and everything. I'm thinking this is love. This is the optimum. It can't get any better than this. I was wrong. My son was born. That's it. That's up. My
Mhm.
granddaughter was born. Oh no, that love keeps going. I, I can tell you that today I probably love her more than I did 4 or 5 years ago because you'll understand this. You continue to love and your love with your wife grows. Okay. But there's little interferences. You leave your dirty clothes on the bathroom floor and she yells at you. Now, you're not happy that she yelled at you and she's not happy with you. So there's not a whole bunch of love right then. Okay. Now, Joyce is not here to yell at me. Okay. Uh, so my love just keeps continuing to grow for her, whether yeah, somebody this morning when the lady said, "Well, would you think you would find somebody else?" I said, "I'm happy where I am. I'm content with my thing." I said, "I won't say never. I would never have someone else because who knows? I may walk out of the door here and it might slap me right side the face. But I don't
Mhm.
think so. Not at 82 years old. I've got some lady friends. But my neighborhood I live in is I'm in. We moved from the country into the city. I'm in a villa on the golf course.
Okay.
Now there's 53 units, and I think 42 of them are widows. So I got plenty of ladies to look after me. Um, but And I have, you know, I have a couple good friend ladies. One of my we went to dinner Friday night, and it's fine to sit, you know, sit there and talk and have a conversation, glass of wine, a nice meal, and do. I entertain a lot. That's the way I keep myself busy. I have
Uh-huh.
people in for dinner. In fact, I'm going to have somebody in tomorrow night and Sunday night. So that's the way I, you know. So now I'll be busy preparing tomorrow for dinner tomorrow night. So they keep me busy during the day. Um, uh, and Sunday, the same things and planning. And I like to invite people, different people, and put them together and see what happens with the conversation. You know, uh, uh, so that's kind of my entertainment now too. So
I
and
think
speak,
that's amazing. And speaking, you said.
yeah, and speak. I love I love sharing my story with people. It's kind of my ministry, my quest now.
Hmm.
The more places I can go, the more I want to go. Um, I've got a couple national speaker bureaus now that have interviewed me that can take me out of this regional, so to speak, where I am now, and there may be a couple national things, um, which would be great. I'd like to take a shot at it. You know, it's like I guess it's like being a rookie quarterback, and you want that one big chance to
Uh-huh.
play in the big game, whether you're successful or not. You want that chance. Now, I would like to have that chance to go to that level and you know speak to 1,000 people on a big stage or whatever. So,
I mean, you may be there before you know it.
well, I would like to take a
Could
shot.
be tomorrow.
Well, it could be. I don't have that much time now at 82, so I gotta, you know, my son always tells me, Dad, you keep moving too fast. I said, Son, I don't, how much time do I have? I'm 82 years old. Who knows? You know, I got to do it today. I can't, you know, I can't wait 2 weeks to do it. I got to do it now. So
Well, but what a better way to spend your time,
that's right. That's
right?
right.
I mean, the time that you do have, it's a great perspective to have.
That's great.
So, I mean, the one thing I will say that, this whole thing is very, it definitely brings a lot into perspective about everything you do, the relationships you have with your family members, the relationships you have outside of your family with God, with, just the things you're working on. It definitely puts a lot of it in perspective. Particularly hearing it from someone who has as much experience as you. So, I mean, my mom had breast cancer. She's actually a survivor, coincidentally, and it was I like to say it's divine intervention rather than dumb luck because
Yeah.
my dad worked for a pharmaceutical company my whole life, and they were doing just random free screenings for women. And she was in her I think she was early 50s. And she was just like, I mean, why not? I actually think it was late 40s. Like, why not? I'll just do this free screening. And they happened to catch this breast cancer so early. Like,
Yeah.
she wouldn't even had symptoms for a few more years. It's just random screening. And because of that, she was able to get radiation. She never had to go on chemotherapy. It was just this amazing blessing from God that we caught it so
Yes.
early. And
It
because of
was.
that, she fought it and she won. And so she's since
Yeah.
had cancer and it's kind of spread to various parts of her body, but she's won each time. And it's just a huge blessing. And we know, will it change someday? Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not worth worrying about,
No.
if,
Exactly.
if that makes sense. And so,
You gotta
hearing this
you gotta live your
perspective,
life.
yeah,
You
you
gotta
got to
live your
live your
life.
life. Exactly.
Uh,
So,
and it's all planned. I mean, you're
mhm.
born and you die.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, it's true.
it's someplace you got a line to face. I don't think maybe I just told you, but I'm on the golf course on this side, and on this side, the cemetery.
Uh-huh.
And the cemetery is a beautiful place to walk. We have beautiful trees. In fact, it's real pretty right now. Look out there and see all the trees are flowering. My wife is out. I mean, our stone is out there, and when I walk by it,
Cool.
and my name's already on there with my birth date. And I always take a quick glance like this to make sure the other date's not on there yet.
Have a
and and I know every time I look at it, God's laughing, going, "Hey, Tom, I'm the only one that knows." You know, I do. I get a big chuckle every time I walk by because I got to look like this. You know, that day that I walk by there, I see that date on there. I know it's time. You know, it's over with.
I'm laughing a little because my grandfather, so he's passed away now. My grandfather, his wife passed away. We don't even know why. Just fluke. They couldn't even determine. She just literally dropped dead one day. It was really
Okay.
strange. Um, it's a little bit funny, ironic that you mentioned that he also got a really beautiful headstone for her with his name on it. but when they actually delivered the first one, they had picked a random future date for his death date and etched it in. And we were all like, "What?
What? How
What
did they
is
know?
this?"
That's great. That's a
And it was
great
like
story.
it was like two
I got to
years or
remember
something.
that. I got to remember that for my book.
So we laughed about it. He's a good sport. He just laughed. He's like, "Well, I guess I only have 2 years left."
That's what they say, right?
The stonemakers thought they knew when I was going to die. Anyway, they remade it and he got it for
Yeah.
free. There was no problem
Yeah.
with that, but we still get a kick about that he got a headstone with his future death date on it. So in any case, it's life. It's the funny things, right? It's looking at life from the perspective of happiness, joy, just recognizing it is the way it is and trying to
And
extrapolate happiness from it.
I have a chapter in the book uh, about laughing. You're not, you get into this coping with grief or whatever your thing is. You cannot stop laughing.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always, that was one of the things my father always told me. He'd always say, son, keep laughing. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how bad it is, keep laughing. Uh, and so I have. Uh, there was a book I read, I think it's by Matthew Kelly. It's called I Heard God Laugh. And the whole thing in there is if God created us in his image and likeness, then he's got a sense of humor too.
Uh-huh.
And he laughs. And so, uh, at least I feel that way. I feel, I'm sure like I say, when I walk by the stone, look at, I'm sure he laughs at me. He goes, hey, yeah, but I'm the only one that knows, Tom. So just keep going.
Yeah. Keep
Keep doing
living.
what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And one time I'll let you know and you can come up. So it, it, I hope, like I say, when I talk to people, I hope when I'm done that I can make things a little easier for them. I can't change it. I can't fix it. I can't do anything like that. If I can just if I can make their journey a journey of love and make their road not have bumps and potholes in it so it's a smoother ride, they're going to take it and it's going to go on forever. I mean, I talked to a lady the other day, 25 years, and she said, I still have a little tear. Um, Talked to a gentleman today. He was 92, lost his wife 12 years ago.
Oh.
And he said, yeah, he said, but yeah, and he was a up guy, he was smiling when he came up. He said, I love your stories. He said, yeah, I got all, he said, let me telling me all his stories. I said, I should write these down, keep them for a book. Uh, so one of the other things I'm an only child with my son and we're in business together. So we spend time business wise together, but he's going with me for these speeches. He's my driver. I can
Okay.
still drive, but he says he's driving Mr. Daisy. Uh, but for 45 different trips here now, we've got to spend time together, just sit in the car and talk, not about business, talk about life and things that I cherish. As a father, spending that much time with my son now at 82 years old is great. So
I think that's awesome. Wow, that's amazing. I think we could probably talk for hours,
we
honestly,
could, we
with
could.
all the stories you have.
Yeah,
We are running a little short on time, and I always love
sure.
to ask for the listeners, for people who are watching this on YouTube, where can people find more information about your books, and particularly the one that just released?
Yeah. Well, I have a website. It's very simple. It's www.thomaslrose.com.
Awesome.
Everything's there. Find out about me, find out about the books, find out about the cookbooks. The whole thing's there. Give me a call, folks. Go on my website. The phone number's there. If you want to talk about grief or you want to talk about anything, quite honestly, but if you want to talk about grief, give me a call. I've got about, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 people that call me and we just talk.
Wow, that
Oh,
is so cool.
I mean, rather than watching TV, I would much rather talk to. I did a gentleman the other night. We talked for about an hour and a half. I could have watched some stupid TV program, but he and I thought I got a lot from him, and I think he got a lot from me. So yeah,
That's
www.thomaslrose.com. Everything's there.
perfect.
And please, folks, I'm looking for places to speak. So it's my mission. I want to go. So if you got a church or a organization or like I say, I've gone to prisons programs. Give me a call.
Oh, cool.
Send me an email. I'll be there. I'll be there with my
That's
little books under my arm.
awesome. Bringing your
What we do is we sell books, and for every book that we sell, we have put it together so we can have a book to give away for free.
Okay.
like prisons, Salvation Armies, places like that, retirement communities where they can't. Well, like this morning, I thought we gave books away at the retirement community because the people there can't. You know, they're lucky to be able to pay to have the services they're
Yeah.
having there. So giving books away. So we try to do that too. So I'm not a rich man, but
You're
that
rich
that
in life. I'll say
yeah.
that
Well,
much.
I am. I
I
am.
mean,
I am.
that's obvious by the way you talk and the way you present yourself. You are rich, just not necessarily in money, but that's not the important things
Yeah.
anyway. So, but well, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing.
Now, best of luck to you and your family.
I hope you found that as amazing as I did. I had a very uplifting experience talking to Tom. I learned a lot from him, not even just about grief, but just about perspective, outlook on life, particularly authoring. You know, things can be challenging, things aren't as expected a lot of the times, and hearing his perspective is just amazing. I was very happy and just I felt good after that conversation. So hopefully you did as well, and hopefully you learned something. So next week we are talking to Bracha Getz about her experience becoming a prolific children's book author. So Brock has published more than 40 children's books, many of them traditionally published books, which we talk a little bit about the querying process, and we talk about, various positives and negatives of her whole experience with publishing. So I think you'll really like that. Tune in for that next week. As usual, if you'd like to join me on the podcast, head over to dankenner.com/podcast, or you can always just message me on any of the social media applications. I'm relatively active on most of them, not posting, but visibility. I'll like open them and see messages. So let me know. Once again, it's author Dan Kenner. You'll find me pretty much anywhere. If you have questions, comments on the on the podcast, definitely leave comments or reviews. I'd love to make this a conversation. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, just let me know. So I look forward to talking to you next week.